That's the thing.
Yeah.
You've lost some of that. Like we've lost the like America's Funniest Home Videos, where it was legitimately the cat fell off the television. Now it's all. I mean, I think TikTok. Now I'm having an epiphany. I think TikTok is the new generation of America's Funniest Home Videos.
Like
except it's all
camera
staged.
videos.
Well,
But not
America's
staged.
Funniest Home Videos were like
Just
home videos, right? And they
Okay,
were
yeah.
funny, and then people realized, oh, I can win money. So then they started staging the funny videos, and so they weren't nearly
Yeah.
as
There's so many
spontaneous.
dads out there who just got
Yeah.
hit in the
Hit right in the nuts.
junk for no reason.
You know,
other than
when I
hoping
was-
for a couple of $1,000.
Years
All
ago,
right,
yes,
Tommy,
you-
give it to me. I'm ready. We're gonna win this one.
Hello, and welcome to the BizDev Podcast, the podcast about developing your business. I am your host, David Baxter, and I'm joined today by the walking square, Gary Voigt. How you doing, man?
Yeah, well, I guess I'm pretty geographically covered. Walking square. Where did you get that from?
Your shoulders
earlier?
are like a block. Yeah, it's like freakishly square. Your shoulders go straight out from your neck. Like there is no dip; it is straight out.
Yeah, I can transform.
We are here to talk
into
about
different
development.
shapes.
No, can you? Can you be a triangle?
No,
Oh, that's freaky, dude.
Give me some time.
That's nice. All right, so we're gonna jump in here and we're gonna talk about fun stuff. We're gonna talk about what Apple VR. You getting excited
It's been
about
rumored
this?
for many, many years. Am I excited? Not really. I'm not huge into the VR goggles, but I am excited to see that everybody who's been predicting this for so long are just chomping at the bit for this to happen. And now apparently the Apple investigators have found like patents that they filed under a shell company name of Reality.io or Reality OS or
Reality OS, right?
Yeah. And they're saying that this Reality OS is the patent name for their VR operating system, which is going to be run on what other Reality branded things, like a Reality branded headset using the new M2 chip. The one thing that I will say looks really cool. I don't know if this is just an artist's rendition or if it maybe came from a leaker or whatever, but if you can imagine basically like the sleek look of like an iPhone 12 Pro without a notch and curved. So it's got a sleek like outer glass, and that would be almost, I would imagine
like Johnny
that same
Mnemonic.
screen would be like on the inside, and it almost looks like the shell of like, or the shape of like a mask, like a scuba mask, but like a low profile one. You know what I mean?
Real thin.
Like something James Bond would wear, not something that your local, scuba diver would wear. But, and I say
It's
local
like Johnny
to
Mnemonic.
Florida.
Did you ever see those goggles that he wore in that old movie,
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves?
The thing
Don't
is,
watch that movie. It's a horrible movie.
they don't look bad. It's weird. They
Well,
don't
but they're-
look too big or too small. They don't look too futuristic or too plastic. They look kind of cool. I mean, they're not glasses and they're not like headgear.
But they're supposed to be, or at least the rumor is, right? That they're supposed to be ones you wear all the time. This isn't a Quest where I'm sitting alone in my room. You're supposed to wear these out and about, right? That's the
I
rumor.
don't think so. I don't think not yet. No. I think
Because
at
they're supposed
first
to have
they're
the
doing their
pass-through cameras,
Oculus.
right?
Well, I think they're doing their Oculus version first and then going into the wearable.
Maybe. I don't know. To me, the Oculus is already, if that's what you're looking for, that's already done.
Yeah,
Right?
but of course,
The
Apple's
Quest
famous for
2
taking what's
is-
already existing, making it slightly cooler, and then putting a
But I
bigger
mean,
price
but
on
the
it.
rumor is that this thing's going to be incredibly expensive, like
Oh, of course,
$3,000
it's
plus
Apple.
dollars.
Well, yeah.
So, but I mean, their phones aren't ridiculous and their tablets aren't ridiculous. But this is like, if this is $3,000 and you're going to tell me that this is the same kind of setup as a Quest 2, which is $300.
Yeah, this is a headset,
dude.
not glasses, that the rumors are about. It is.
Well, I knew it was not
headset.
glasses, but I thought it was for pass through, and they were going to be made so you could wear them out and you get some AR goodies around the real world. But it would look weird because you can't see their eyes. I mean, that's the first generation of all this because AR glasses are still several years out, because the whole waveguide thing that allows you to see through but still have a screen, that's what the technology is called. It's called waveguides. That's still
so
pretty
what if they
infant.
took the tiny little like FaceTime cameras that they have and they put
Yeah.
and then they put they're projecting basically
That's the
image
plan.
around
It's they'd have
into
pass-through
the
cameras.
Yeah. I mean,
And so you could walk around, you'd see fine. You'd still look like a weirdo. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. I mean,
I
don't think the world's ready for that.
These Apple investigators or detectives, whatever you want to call them, they rooted through paperwork to find the name of a shell company that might be related to the name of an operating system that might be related to Apple's possible headset. So now it's huge stories.
Pretty smart, actually.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's still kind of like, that's your job. What do you do?
It reminds me of,
find
have you
ways to
seen
leak Apple information before.
the Fortnite people in World of Warcraft and all that? There's the data miners. Have you heard about these guys? That they look at the code inside of the games, what's released, to see what's coming next.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
there's
they
tons
do that
of
with
that,
Apple.
and those
Apple
people,
developers do that too. They'll look through all
yeah,
the
they do that too.
specs
They
and
look in
see
the
if there's
code, the
anything
beta
for
codes.
specs for other devices. Yeah.
We'll see. I'm excited for it because I think, I mean, if you the history is nothing's real until Apple does it, right? Tablets weren't real. The phones, touch screen phones weren't real, even though they existed. They take everybody's idea and then they polish it up to a mirror shine and say, look, we invented this, right? That's what they do. They've done that so many times. And it's funny how many people believe it, is what I think is hilarious. It's like, what do you mean this phone has a punch hole camera, which is the rumor of the next one that's coming out in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Like, that's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. But Android's been doing it for like 3 years, right? It's when they come out with their folding phone, whenever that is in a few years, I swear people are like, folding phone? What is that? That's the most amazing thing. And Samsung's like, dude, I've been doing this for 5 years. I mean, that's what they do. And it's good for the industry. Take Apple out of it. It's good for the industry because it's going to kickstart a whole wave of AR, VR goodies. Of course, I say that. They've been playing with the AR thing on their phone for years. You can play chess looking through your phone on a table. I've never really understood the point of that. I have to stare at this, and I can see the thing there, but I have to interact with it still through my phone. I don't understand that. But I think it'll be neat.
A developer, Russ Mashmeyer, I believe his name is, and he used to work for Facebook back before they started Meta, and he was basically doing a lot of the AR, the pre-Meta AR, VR type stuff or whatever. I guess developing it and coming up with the idea for products. Then he left Facebook, and he developed the AR system that now works with a bunch of high-end furniture and paint distributors that you take photos of your room, where you could do like a scan of the room, and then you could select paint colors and furniture and place them in that room, and then take snapshots of all that stuff. And he did all that on the Swift UI, or is it Swift IO? What's the language that you use to code onto an iPhone?
Swift.
Native.
Just Swift.
Yeah. Okay. So he had to use the iPhone's code to make the AR stuff that he kind of started working on for Facebook a reality into an app for these people. Anyway, so back to the point, a lot of what they were showing that the iPhones can do with games and putting things on tables and measurements and all that stuff, a lot of that framework was built in order for this guy Russ to make what he made for those apps. So I thought that was a way of, it's not just for games, it's something that can be used, like, a useful way to kind of help promote and push sales in a way for your business.
So that reminds me, did you hear about a few weeks ago, Amazon bought or is trying to buy iRobot, the Roomba manufacturers? Yeah, they bought the vacuum company. And the question is why, right? What is the point of that?
Oh,
and I didn't realize
to scan your room and get details and feedback.
Yeah, it's to scan your room. So all the
items for you to buy.
All the newer vacuums come with full-on cameras in the front of them. If you look at any of the new Roombas, they have not just little cheesy cameras like they used to have. They're full-on cameras. And the point of them is to map your room and to say, okay, this... And take the scary part out of it, is to allow the vacuum... You can tell it to go vacuum the kitchen. because in the app you can say that this room is the kitchen, this room is a bedroom, whatever. But now with the cameras, the bots get smarter that they recognize that's a fridge, that's a stove, that's a sink, and they're doing that. That's a crib. Oh, there must be having a baby. Boom. I mean, crazy
Next
stuff.
thing you know,
And
get
now
suggested ads from the companies.
Amazon now can see inside of your company. Now, are they going to be nefarious? Who knows? I mean, Amazon doesn't have a reputation of being super sketch, but it does raise flags when a bazillion-dollar company now has a map of your house internally to your house.
They
It's
caught
scary.
a lot of flack for the Ring doorbells and the Ring cameras, like not being on
That wasn't their
security
fault,
networks.
though, to be fair. That wasn't Amazon. That was Ring themselves before they were bought.
That was just the
Because
way their
they were
Wi-Fi worked, right?
Yeah, they networked all the cameras together so that if a policeman needed something, they could, like, say someone vandalized a house. In
They could
theory,
use
all the Ring
neighbor's
doorbells
Ring camera
could
to
watch.
Get an
Yeah,
outside view. Yeah.
which sounds like a great idea in thought. Oh, we're catching the bad guy who robbed my neighbor. But
If they were given
practically
permission
speaking,
from
that is super.
from the homeowner whose camera they wanted to use, or if
Well,
they
originally
actually
they
had
were
information from a
opt-out.
judge during. Yeah. Anyways,
Originally, it was opt out. Like, everybody was included automatically, and people didn't realize that. And so, all this surveillance video from their own house was being brought up on people's, that you didn't even know was being recorded, was showing up in, like, court. And yeah, it freaked people out, something severe. Because if you go to, like, my neighborhood, which is a newer neighborhood, almost every house has some sort of video doorbell.
yeah.
Almost all of it. So the
They're
idea
super
of,
common now.
door dong ditching or whatever, where you ding and run away.
Dong ditching. What?
Doorbell ditch. It was, you know what I'm talking about. You ring the doorbell. It's door dong. You're a door dong. Anyway,
Door dong.
you know what I'm saying? Ding dong ditch. That's what it's called,
Yes.
right? Anyways, what do the kids call it this year? Now, I have a funny story about that. So years ago, when we first moved in, we've been living in our house almost 7 years, and we were one of the first ones who have one of those doorbells. And one of my friends wanted to do that. He was all sneaking up, and he put like a hood on, and he was sneaking up, not realizing he was being recorded. And he rings, and he's running away, and he almost falls down. We have the whole thing on video. So I sent it to him. And
The whole video, or
he
just
had
like
no
a screen
idea.
grab?
The whole video. Yeah, I sent the whole video.
The first thing I
Pretty,
did,
embarrassed.
since they're tiny little cameras, but they have like the wide fisheye lens, so they can capture the most amount of width. And so as soon as I set it up, I walked around to the front of the house and I started looking in the camera like this, pretending I was the Beastie Boys from the "So What You Want" video. And then I grabbed some
Nice. Of
screenshots
course
and
you would
sent
do
it to
that.
my friends.
Okay, so the latest hotness that I have heard recently is the quiet quitting. Have you heard about this?
I didn't hear about it until you mentioned it to me, and then I did a little research to find out what it was. But
So
yeah,
the
apparently-
basics of it. Oh, go ahead. You want
No,
to?
I want to hear your explanation first.
So the basics of it is that people are tired of going above and beyond. I've heard multiple versions of this, but the one that I've heard mostly is people are tired of going above and beyond, and so they're doing the bare basics to do their job. They're not working late. They're not doing any of that stuff. They're doing just the bare minimum to not get fired. That's one thing I heard. I read an article just today that it was you're doing the bare minimum while you're looking for another job. That one I hadn't heard that except for this one article.
Yeah, those seem to be both framed from the perspective of like a manager or a supervisor or a business owner, because the two articles that I read were framed more from, I guess you could say, one of them would be a business consultant, a guy that works with startups and media companies, and the other one is just someone who interviewed people, middle management and lower in companies. And apparently it's just like a TikTok trend. The term quiet quitting
Yeah, it started from
is
TikTok.
just a social media trend for being able to set boundaries between your work life and home life. So I guess some of the framing coming from the business owners and the supervisor or whatever is, we've let people get away with this working from home thing. And now, they're not willing to put in that extra effort. They're just, as soon as it becomes, 5:30 or whatever, the laptop shut, they don't answer emails, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's a problem. And the actual employees who have been interviewed, or some of the other businesses, one of the articles I read is from NPR. That was the interviews. The other one, that one was coming from a guy named Ed Zitron, who's a startup consultant, business consultant, runs a media agency, does a lot of work with like social media and stuff like that. But basically he said being able to, even if you're working from home or in the office, being able to come in at a certain time, do your job. When your job is done, you can shut your laptop. You don't have to answer any more emails. You go home and that's home. When you're, get home, you don't have to check your phone for text from your boss or quick things that you could get from the cloud and send out or continue on doing stuff like that. So I think it was being framed as quietly quitting, meaning you're quitting for the day. And then
not quitting your job.
That's been turned into if you're not willing to make any extra effort, then you're just trying to slack off at your job and then eventually just find a different job. So it's an interesting phenomenon that's being framed in two different ways, but both from the same origin. You know what I mean?
So what are your thoughts as a worker? And please forget that I'm your boss, and if you are quietly quitting, I'm just going to fire you right here. Take that out and don't feel any stress whatsoever.
So if I quietly quit, you're going to loudly fire me, right?
Well, I mean, no, I'm just playing. What are your, because I have strong feelings on this, and not just as a business owner, but go ahead.
Yeah, my
I want to
gut
hear what
reaction was just, it's almost like the nemesis to that hustle culture that we had pre-pandemic, or if you want to call it that. Once that kind of shift went from, I get up at 5 a.m., exercise, eat breakfast, work, and then take my work home with me, and then just weekends, side gigs, blah, blah, blah. That mentality went a little too far. So now I think that paradigm shifted a little bit, where people are like, you know what? I've realized that I'm just going to burn myself out, and I'm not going to be very productive to, one, my job, or two, my home life or family, if I'm just constantly burning from both ends. You know what I mean? And I need some sort of cutoff. I need a place to find that balance, like we've talked about before. So I think this is just a trendy way of framing some people saying, look, I need to make sure that if my business hours are going to be between, say, 9 and 6, anything before 9 doesn't involve you, my boss, my company, or whatever, unless, if you're in a leadership position, or if you're obviously working for yourself or someone, if the business is open and you're required to handle, say, if it was customer complaints, or if it was orders that are coming in that can't be handled, there's got to be a little bit of gray area. But let's just say your job is, to use as an example, a developer that's coming in, start your day at 9, you end your day at 6, right? You have this many tasks to try to get through for that day. You have the lunch hour or break or whatever. Is it so bad to just say, I'm not going to start writing code or thinking about the problem until 9? And then once the day is over, I'm just going to stop writing code and thinking about the problem and go on with the rest of my life?
So what's funny to me is I think this is just a very clever way of naming something that people have always done.
Yeah.
80%
it's just
of workers,
clickbaity for the idea to get across, but
yeah, but 80% of workers, and I'm using just a classic 80-20 rule, but 80% of workers have been doing this forever. They do the bare minimum, they clock in, they clock out, and that's what it is. And there's always the 20% who want to work harder because they want to advance. What I don't understand is, you don't need a fancy name for that. That's just doing your job. Okay, fine, you're doing your job. But it doesn't change the fact that humans are humans, and the people who do the best, who do the extra effort, go to that next level, are the ones who will succeed. They're the ones who are going to get promoted. They're the ones who are going to get the raise. They're the ones who are going to start their own businesses. There is not a single person listening to my voice, or not. Doesn't have to be the 12 people listening to our voice. If you are starting your own business, this isn't even entering your lexicon.
No,
because by definition, you are someone who is working hard and doing the extra effort.
Yeah, this is definitely not related to starting your own business. This is more related to run-of-the-mill factory workers.
Now,
in
do you
broad
fire?
Term of just like a 9 to 5er? But like
the one part that really bothered me was if, let's say, for instance, let's just use your developer example. And I've got a client whose server is exploding. It's on fire. It's 9 p.m. And I call you. This is your client, right? You work on them. You're the developer for this project. And I call you, say, dude, they're on fire. I need your help. And you say, sorry, man, not unless you pay me overtime. Right? Like, when I hire you and you take on a client, if they're on fire, we help them, right? That's kind of the job. And you're a highly paid individual because you're a developer. And to hold my client ransom in the heat of the moment would be very off-putting to me. That would bother me tremendously.
Sure.
Now, should I be abusing you and making you do this all the time? Of course not.
That's
should I be
what I was going to
demanding?
bring up for the counterpoint is, okay, so you're a developer. You get a call at 9 o'clock from your boss. Hey, our client really needs this one thing done right now. It's super important. What is it? They want to change the color of the sale button from green to bluish green.
Yeah. So that kind of example would be bad on my part. That would be me being a bad manager.
So I think
because
whole
that's not critical.
balance there between taking advantage of or putting in extra effort because you want to, like, you know, there has to be a balance there. So the quietly quitting thing, I think, is just maybe it's kind of just propaganda for if a boss thinks everybody should be going the extra mile for them without realizing that they might be taking advantage of some of them.
Sure.
And then
I mean,
the
that's
workers
a bad boss,
feeling like they're
for
being
sure.
taken advantage of are the ones that might literally be taken advantage of, because usually the worker that wants to go that extra mile and take that extra step to be better, like you were talking about earlier in example A, they're not going to complain about this. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They're
because they
gonna be like,
want
"All
that. They want
I'm
the
doing
perks.
more, and I'm going to do this to advance myself further in the company." So
I heard there was one of the articles I read today was they were saying, okay, so quietly quitting, but there's also a quietly firing, which was the concept of you're an employee. I'm going to
move your
not
office to
give
the
you
basement and
promotions.
take your stapler.
not give you raises, ignore. I got the Office Space reference.
Okay.
I'm ignoring your requests for X, Y, and Z. I am slowly trying to make you frustrated so that you will quit.
Yeah. That way you don't have
And
to pay
there's
them
another.
unemployment.
There was another one that was quietly quitting your relationship. They all had fun names, and basically, as opposed to ghosting, which is you just stop talking to them completely, poof, you're gone. The idea here is that you just make yourself less and less available until they realize that you're not interested. And they're like, and the article was this: is like we've gotten so passive aggressive with all of this that we are really hurting people because no one has the cojones, as it were, to just say, you know what, you're not long-term material. We're just firing you, or I'm breaking up, or whatever. Yeah. I mean, I think if you hate your job, quit your job. Especially right now. I couldn't say that. 10 years ago, you would never say that because finding a new job was a huge deal. But right now,
Finding
everyone
new
I know
employees
is
a huge deal.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
the
So we
opposite.
just hired a new guy. His name is Ryan. Hello, Ryan. He is awesome, and he just started. But I will tell you, finding him was so painful. Way more than we've ever had to hire anybody like that. It is a rough world out there. And I have friends, everyone I know who runs a business, hiring is just a nightmare. Because, and I had a friend who's like, man, I got on to him for this. I have a friend, he runs a company, and he's got guys who are out in the field working outdoors, hard work, manual labor. And he has raised their pay by 50% in the last 2 years, like big raises to keep them coming. Because he was like, oh man, they're all lazy. They don't want to work anymore. And I'm looking around, and I was like, dude, there's a 3.5% unemployment rate right now. They're working, just not for you.
Yeah.
That's the truth. All those.
It's
still
ironic
amazing.
when
We have-
restaurants who still want to pay tipping wages that are below, the
Not even minimum
from
wage.
years ago. No, like $3-4.
not even
an
half
hour.
minimum wage.
And
Yeah.
then taking tips away from their servers and the tipping employees by saying, well, because the cost of everything has gone up, and we can't really increase our prices too much, or we'll lose business and lose customers. So we're just we're going to take some of the tipping, because you're already getting paid. So we're going to take some of the tipping. We're going to take 10% off of everybody's, and then it's 15%. And then they're like, why doesn't anybody want to work?
It is amazing to me because, I mean, you go to a restaurant now, Friday night,
There's
you're
hardly
going out
any
and
servers. Yeah.
you look around and there's a wait of like an hour and you're like, what in the world? Because you look over and half
It's
the
empty.
restaurant's empty.
Yeah.
And it's because they have no servers. And it's the same thing that my buddy was having the problem with this. It's not as though they're being lazy or they're not working. They're just not working for you. Like you're saying, why would you be a waiter right now? I grew up as a waiter.
Or why would you
waited
be
tables for
a
4 years.
waiter in a restaurant that's, if you have 5 choices and you don't start with the best one for you, you're not going to be like, you know what, I really want to work there because I'll get more money and possible benefits, and I might be on track to become like management, or I'll just work here for less money because they really need employees. Like, no one's making that choice.
Sure. And it is interesting to me. It's like you can tell which restaurants are treating their people right versus not. I mean, I waited tables for 4 years all through high school and into college, and I loved it because it was the best money per hour of any job you could get without, education or anything like that. You could really, if you're a good waiter, this is in the 90s, you could make $15+ an hour whenever, all your buddies are making $8 an hour if they're lucky, and you're doubling that because you're waiting tables and you're doing a good job. Now I can go dig a ditch for $18 an hour. Why am I taking on, any job nowadays pays crazy money now because,
well,
and I think that's all good, really, honestly.
Yeah,
I think people
it
need
might
to
be
get paid
crazy
more.
in comparison to because it seems like it's a large shift in a short amount of time, which is kind of making up for the difference of how it should have slowly increased along with the cost of living and everything else. But
Correct.
At the same time, you look around at the prices of houses. This is going into a different conversation, but yeah, they're getting paid more, but they're still not able to afford a house. They're still not able to pay off debts.
Well, housing is
insurance,
just such a
cars, and
weird
crazy.
thing right now.
It's ridiculous. If it takes
Inflation is
4
high, for
people with full-time incomes in order to all squeeze into a 2-bedroom apartment just to make rent, that's
Depending on where you're. But let me loop this back around. So we're talking about quietly quitting, and I'm just saying, in today's job market, there are a bazillion. Everyone's hiring. Everyone that I know is hiring. If you don't like your job, don't quietly quit. Just quit.
Yeah.
Go get another job. They're there. They're all there. Don't wuss out. Find a job that you love and that you're willing to put that extra time in, because I'm going to tap into a larger thing. What I find sad to me, again, I'm old, but there's this younger generation, and I'm saying anyone under the age of 30 is what I'm saying, younger at this point. There is this thing that I love the idea of I work to live, not live to work. I love that phrase. However, it's a little short-sighted because I see developers in particular, because their hourly rates are really high, and they're like, what's the bare minimum I have to work per week to pay my bills? And you'll find guys who work 15 hours a week making, $75 an hour, and they're like, that's enough. And then they don't work anymore. I get that, fine. They'd rather live their lives, but they're also shortchanging something we call retirement. If you're not sacking away money as a young person, you're going to be destitute when you're old. And I know when you're 25, you're immortal, and that is so far away you're not thinking about it. But goodness gracious, you are selling yourself short. If you said, I only need to work 15 hours a week to pay my bills, but if you then work 40 hours a week, you can set yourself up forever and not be a pain. In your 40s, you really start thinking about retirement. And either it's a scary thought or it's like, whatever, I've already been doing this. And I just see these people who are working the bare minimum. I'm just going to be the low man on the totem pole and go home at 5 and never put in any extra, never get a raise, never get a promotion. And then you wind up and you're 50 and you're like, I guess I'm moving in with my kids when I'm 65. Dude, short thinking. Sure, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
I just
What is
don't
it?
understand.
Youth is wasted on the young and wisdom is wasted on the old.
I mean, I know I sound like a young whippersnapper, get off my lawn, but I just want people to think about it. I mean, I crack this whip on my own team all the time because, again, a lot of them are young and they're not thinking about retirement because they're going to live forever. And I'm like, guys, there is no substitution for being smart here. Retirement equals time plus money, period. There's no shortcut. There's no magic pill. I mean, I've got relatives who are buying penny stocks hoping to hit it big because they didn't start early enough. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that's not what they thought of was going to be their retirement, that they hit the penny stock lottery. And again, to each his own, but I was like, time and money equals retirement. I don't know. I'm all on a different soapbox here, but I'm just, when I see this quietly quitting stuff and I'm like, I'm just going to do the bare minimum. It just kind of hits me right here because I want people to think about the future because it's so important.
Yeah.
Right,
and to circle back, I think that quietly quitting, the whole idea is that it is seen in two different ways. You're a business owner, so you're going to see it as the people are just doing the bare minimum. That's what quiet quitting is. When everybody else who's working is saying, no, it just means I'm not going to go, bust myself up way past working hours for not much more.
Well, I mean, as a business owner, I think you should want to take care of your people, period. And it should be important that you do not mistreat them. If you're making your guys work 50 hours a week so that you take home a big fat paycheck to buy that Porsche, shame on you.
Yeah.
But if you are building a culture and that you are hiring the people and you're like, my client needs some help because their server shut down and only you can fix it, your guys shouldn't be negotiating with you at that point in time. Right? True. That's what I get. I think that's wrong. But at the same time, I don't think...
I was going to say that comes with the way you build culture on your team. So that's a different topic too.
It's a different topic. I just want to make sure that I'm not misconstrued, that like I'm cracking the whip on my guys and that I want them to be always available 24/7 and they shouldn't have a home life. I mean, clearly, if you've listened to any of this podcast, that's not what we preach. We want a strong work-life balance. We want you to turn the laptop off and put the phone down. We want you to enjoy your families and your hobbies and all of that stuff. But at the same time, you've got a job to do. And there's a balance there. And it's my job as the owner, and it's my PM's job as managers to not be a burden, but it's my dev's job to step up when we need them to step up. That's the balance that we play.
Quietly quitting.
That one got me. That one, we're quitting this topic. That one got me.
Offended and attacked. I'm just joking.
No, because my guys are amazing, and they have stepped up every time. I've been certainly not. I'm a little afraid to ask them the question.
Well, actually, I should say you've built this team in a very unique way, where it was you sought out contractors and freelancers who were good at what they did, and then you were able to find enough work to be like, hey, buddy, instead of looking for clients, why don't you just keep doing what you love doing, and I'll provide the clients. Stick with me. So it's like a win-win for both teams. And so that culture kind of carried through. Everybody that we've hired have been those self-starting freelancers or contractors that if you do call them and be like, hey man, client needs this, can you make it happen? Their instinct already is, yeah, I got it.
Yeah, because I'm here to take care of it. Yeah. What I have found, and I don't think this is unique to developers. I think you could be on any sort of technician kind of field. I find the best hires are those who can run their own business, but don't want to deal with clients. They don't want to deal with, they have all the skill set to be a successful business owner. Some of them have been successful business owners.
Right.
But, whether it's freelancing or they open their own little shop or something like that. But they're excited every morning by doing the actual technician work, whatever that is, development.
Not finding the clients to do that work for.
Yeah, the finding the clients, interfacing with the clients, that to them is a drain. So they come under my wing where I'm doing the sales and the client relations and all of that, taking that off their plate, and all they have to do is their technician work. They're pigs in slop, right? They're rolling around in it because they just love what they're doing. And I took that stuff off.
Love building relationships with clients and actually treating them like in like a peer-to-peer situation is really good too. That's awesome.
So I think if you own any, design, advertising, marketing, there's tons of white collarish kind of jobs that would fall into that same thing. Find the technicians who hate sales, and you can find some really amazing employees.
There you go.
Because if you're good at sales, you're the rainmaker, you have a lot of power in that situation because you're bringing them the work. I mean, you gotta be careful with the guys, and we've had this before, where the guys who want to run the client and they want to run the whole thing, because those guys oftentimes will take the client.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So that's a real tough balance, and that's a whole nother podcast. But
maybe we'll talk about that in another one. Then
maybe we will. Maybe we will. Foreshadowing. So okay, here is my final story of the day. So we are recording little videos for our website, which I hate doing, but it's my job. So staring into a camera is painful for me. But we're doing this little things, and the thing we're making the first batch of is about a free strategy session, which I learned when I'm doing things. I'm staring into a camera, which I despise, and then my lisp gets worse. If you've listened to this podcast for more than 5 minutes, you know I have a lisp. It's fabulous. But I have learned the hard way. Free strategy session is impossible for me to say when I'm stressed out.
And staring in a camera.
So bad. And staring. Free strategy session. There's no way to sound educated. I redid that video like 37 times because my tongue got the size of a small country, and yeah, it was magical. Truly, truly magical. But that was my last.
If you want a free strategy session, you should go to the site though. Loop that in. thebigpixel.net/free-session.
Oh, look at you. Shameless promotion. That wasn't the reason I was telling this story.
No.
I was telling this because those videos have been absolutely painful. Alrighty, y'all. We're out.
If you have any more questions, comments, or information that you'd like to share with us, you can reach us at hello@thebigpixel.net or on any one of our social media channels, or even on YouTube. You can leave a comment. We'll get back to you.
Yep. And we're setting up some more interviews with more people. So if you know of anybody who might want to chat with us, have them reach out to Gary at thebigpixel.net, and he will hook you up. We'll talk to anybody. I mean, seriously. Just kidding. We have some standards. They're not very high, though. So, all right. I shouldn't say that.
Pretty much anybody that
insulted
hears
our future
this
guests
has passed the standard test.
Fair enough. All right, y'all. Thank you so much. See you next time.
See ya.